Well, it's kind of neat. We're talking to Mr. Marty Ward for the economic and commercial development of Tinley Park, and that's a very important part of keeping Tinley Park going. But another aspect of Tinley that really is a strong force in town is the religious aspect and churches. We are kind of known as a town of churches. And one of the oldest churches, I think the second oldest church in Tinley Park, the Zion Lutheran Church, has been around for quite a while. We have with us today the pastor of that church, Pastor Dave Peters. Pastor, thanks for coming to Discover Tinley.
Thanks, truly. Good to be with you.
Zion Lutheran, when actually did it start now?
We started officially in 1881.
Okay.
But there had been a group of Lutherans meeting in the old Brementown area, the new Bremen area, back in 1871.
Oh.
So for 10 years we worshipped just a group of followers and believers, and then finally got official pastor in, got chartered. 1881 is our official beginning.
Okay, and I think is that where the old landmark is now? Is that the original?
Exactly. The Historical Society for Tinley Park is meeting in our original church building.
Okay.
The school is right in that area too.
Okay.
The first building actually came from Blue Island, if I remember right.
Oh my.
And they brought it here to the Tinley Park area, again the Bremen area, and 174th Street.
Okay,
is where
right,
we began.
Right.
But,
yeah, in case anyone don't never seen that, it's the old church is right behind it's just south of the train station. We go to the Oak Park Avenue train station, look south, you see right at the Zion Lutheran Church, and the Historical Society has quite an operation going there too. So hopefully you get over there sometime. But yeah, Zion Lutheran's been around for a while. Now, now your present church is located where?
We're right now we're between Harlem and Oak Park Avenue, 171st Street.
Okay.
Almost literally halfway in between.
Okay.
And since 1955 is where we've been on that campus.
Okay. I didn't realize you'd been there that long. I thought it was newer than that. Wow.
Well, we made a recent addition. So our area, we call it the Zion Center.
Okay.
It's used for a lot of community events. It's an educational space, recreation, all that. That's only about 10 to 15 years old. So
okay.
Maybe that caught your eye.
Okay. And Zion Lutheran's got quite a history in Tinley Park, doesn't it?
We really do. We really do. A lot of the familiar names of Tinley, whether it's the Fultons or the Funks or the Moores, or a lot of people that we know as Tinley Park names, even some of the Bettenhausens, still present in the Zion membership. So,
wow.
Yep, been around a while and connected for quite a good time.
Okay. Now, how long have you been there now?
Feels like forever, but no. Only a little over 3 years.
Okay.
It was January of 2010 that I came on board.
Okay. Wow.
And, so just getting still my feet wet, so to speak. Fully immersed. It's great.
I bet. Well, tell us about some of the things that go on at your church there, some of the activities that really are very important to the people in your congregation.
You know, I think Zion really has worked hard to establish itself both as an educational center as well as kind of a center of, if you will, mission and missions.
Okay.
And one of the hallmarks of the congregation is that there's a lot of gifted individuals in the trades and other areas, and they apply their tasks to help others in Jesus' name. So whether we get a phone call and it's an elderly individual whose hot water heater just went out, and she can afford to have a new hot water heater purchased, but she can't afford the labor and all that. Or we're happy with some of the members to come in, pull the old one out, bring the new one in, hook it up, and be all set. So we do that kind of locally. Then whether it's a project like Habitat for Humanity or something like that, a lot of those same skilled tradesmen, will go on a build day or a build week or take a whole house from start to finish and do that sort of thing. And so we connect, whether it's on Joliet or Chicago area, this kind of thing, and do those kind of projects. So very much the trades are there. But then, recently the Love Inc. operation, Love in the Name of Christ, is a collection of congregations looking to help people who might have housing needs or financial concerns or that kind of thing. It's kind of a clearinghouse. Working with Together We Cope. Zion is heavily connected with that as well. Respond Now. A lot of these kind of agencies we also see ourselves linking up to. It's a long list. It really
sounds
is.
like it. Wow, it's pretty good. And you say these mission trips, you go on mission trips?
Yes.
Where do you go for that kind of stuff? What do you do on those?
Wherever the need is.
Okay.
And it's really cool. A lot of churches do mission trips with the youth or the young people.
Right.
For Zion, it's a whole family thing. We have retirees, 80-somethings who are going on these trips, and then we have teenagers and preteens who come as a family event. And whether, last year, Harrisburg, Illinois, you recall they had a lot of troubles with storm damage and all that, and FEMA didn't help out. Zion said, let's us go down there and do what we can. So we spent a long weekend helping out down there. Previous to that, when Cedar Rapids had all the flooding a couple years ago, likewise, we sent a crew in, and they worked to help rehab and rebuild some of the homes there. Some of our Bible camps have needed attention, so whether it's re-roofing or putting in flooring or that kind of thing. Elkhorn, Wisconsin, Socorro, Wisconsin, done things that. I think the biggest distance covered was going down to Juarez, Casas por Cristo, Houses for Christ. Zion has sent workers down there, and this coming summer, come July, not too far from now, we'll be sending a crew up to the Duluth area, Duluth Superior, and likewise helping out there. So it's a big deal. It's a big deal.
Sounds like you've got quite a few people involved with this.
We do. It's always a great delegation, 20,
30
30 people who go, and then another 80 to 100 people who support back home, whether that is putting up dollars specifically, helping to host a dinner to raise funds, a variety of things that way. But it embraces a lot of the congregation. It's great.
Wow. And you talked about educational aspect. What do you do for your young people in church there?
Not enough.
Okay.
They would say too much.
Yeah, right. But, that's okay.
Starting young, Zion for a number of years has what we call the ECC, the Early Education Center, and that's a traditional preschool kind of operation. But Zion's chosen not to hire that from the outside. Rather, it is our staff, it's our operation, and so starting with 3-year-olds, whether it's just mornings and afternoons or just afternoons, 3 days a week, 2 days a week, you can arrange different kind of programs. But so we start with early education for the kids, and it's not just learning your numbers and your colors and all that, but also learning about Jesus, having faith infused and not locked to the Lutheran tradition. Maybe about 25% of our enrollment, which averages between 80 and 100 students. About 25% would come from in-parish, and the remainder typically come from other folks around Tinley or other suburbs. And so it's a really good both outreach, but a wonderful way for the parish to help, again, early on, help nurture the kids. Then traditional Sunday school, confirmation programs, the list goes on and on, all the way to adult classes. I'm just wrapping up a 7-week adult course on learning about grace and those kind of things. So we keep the education process going, but Lutherans are really strong that way.
Okay, well, good. I'm glad to hear that.
They are.
Wow. Do you have time for worship services?
The service, yes. The preaching, well, yes. Just this past year, we reworked what our weekend looks like, and we really tried to bring together what's happening in the education departments and what's happening in worship. And so rather than having folks have a worship experience and have that being detached from what the children are learning in Sunday school or that kind of thing, we said, no. We'd like each to match together. So we have a family service every weekend, Sundays about 9 o'clock. And whatever the curriculum or the lesson might be for Sunday school kids, the widow's mite, the idea of Nehemiah rebuilding the wall around Jerusalem or that sort of thing. So the kids don't learn something and the adults have no idea. What they take in the Sunday school classroom for lessons, we take in worship and preach on, have music collected with, and all that kind of thing. And so it's a nice, contemporary, family-friendly service every Sunday at 9. Wow. 10:30, we do a more traditional. We still keep the same lessons.
Oh, okay.
But for those who like a church choir, like the organ, like again, what, if you will, traditional worship or what we're calling liturgical worship is all about, that happens there. And then there are folks who are busy on Sundays. We recognize there's lots of things to do in the community and elsewhere. So on Saturday evenings, we also have a quieter, a more informal prayer service, musical service, that sort of thing. So, 3 worship services, usually about 300 people over the course of the weekend come to be part of the worship, drawing from a membership of over 1,000, about 1,200 or so.
Oh, wow. Okay, good size. Now, do you draw from more than Tinley Park, too?
Oh, yes. Coming up from Frankfurt and other suburbs south, Orland and a variety of people there, Oak Lawn, from the surrounding area. I haven't figured out who's got the longest drive.
Okay.
I used to. When I first came here, I was living in Darien.
My!
Until I could find a home in Tinley and that sort of thing. So people do draw in, and that's great. That's great. Though we like it. There's something special about being in neighborhood. Okay. And I'll admit, you said, Tinley is an area known for its churches, helping to define the community. There's something nice about the folks you go to school with, the folks that you work with, that you see in the park, that you see in the store, are also the folks who are part of what's going on in the church fellowship and worship.
Oh,
so
sure. Oh, you
that helps
really
define us. Yeah.
How do you? I'm just kind of curious. How do you see your role as pastor? What is a pastor? What do you do all the time?
Oh, I was afraid you're going to ask that.
But it sounds like you've got your plate pretty full.
Yeah.
Of things.
Few people do what a pastor does in the diversity of what we get a chance. There might be a phone call saying, you know what, I'm having problems with my kids. Could you help give some advice or that? Another time we'll be called to the hospital because there's been an emergency, surgery for cardiac or that. And again, your presence, calling on God would be important, this kind of thing. Other times we see ourselves very much as community helpers. You heard about all the mission stuff we do and the helping hands things. Sneak in a little bit of continuing education personally to learn different skills. But so you're wearing a hat of stewardship and finance one day and child care and marriage counseling another day. And I don't know too many other careers that do that. It's not boring. We could use more.
There are
never enough clergy to go around.
Yeah. Do you have an assistant, or do you have people?
Several. Have a pastoral assistant. Her name is Amy Wiegert.
Okay.
And Amy is our associate pastor who focuses especially on education. David Weasley is also on our staff full time. David works specifically with the young people and also our mission and outreach. And then we also have a full-time director of music. We call him a cantor. And he works with the choir programs and a lot of the music programs, and of course helps with funerals and weddings and all that too. So all that, plus the teaching staff at the ECC, the office staff and all that. So
you get a day off?
It's been weeks and weeks.
Jeez.
I try to. I'm a Wisconsin boy, so when I get a chance, yes, I like to sneak back home. And we won't talk about sports teams.
No, thank you. We've only got a short time left. You got a trip planned to the Holy Land, I understand.
Yes.
Can you give me a brief idea of what's going on with that and how that enters into the church?
Sure. Everybody who is a believer ought to get to Israel at some point in their lives. And whether you're a Muslim, whether you're a Jew, or whether you're a Christian. And it's a visceral kind of experience. You have to be there to get a full benefit or full understanding. And so we have a pilgrim group, about 24, that are going to be leaving the last day of September, and we'll get to spend 11 days touring the Jesus sites, having a chance to have made real all the stories we read about in Scripture.
Wow, yeah.
It'd be wonderful.
Yeah, I was there. I'd love to come again. I was there, I think, 40 years ago, so I think things might have changed since then.
I've been there about 3-4 times, and even over that time it has changed.
But it was fascinating when I went there, just to see the sites that you read about and hear about. It's just a tremendous, so yeah, I agree with you. Everybody should, if you can, make that trip. It just really brings things to life a lot.
Jerusalem, Sea of Galilee, Jordan River, so many places.
Oh, yeah.
And
I know you travel extensively. We've got about 30 seconds. Where have you been?
About 37 or 38 different countries.
Oh, right. so
Qatar, the most recent, as far as a unique place in Persian Gulf.
Okay.
Most of Europe and other spots too. Vagabond spirit here.
Wow.
Paul was a traveler. St. Paul. So is this servant of God.
Wow, that sounds good for your parish there. They should benefit tremendously from your experiences there. Okay. Well, thank you for coming for Discover Tinley. It's been a pleasure hearing from you and talking to the Zion Lutheran pastor. It's a pretty neat position there. So keep up the good work, whatever you're doing.
Thanks. You too.
Tremendously good experience. We have a good community of churches. A lot of things going on in town here. Last thing I want to mention, don't forget, summer's coming up now. June, July. The farmers market is starting up in June. We've got the things in the park. We got things going on by Zabraki Square and the block party. So thanks for coming to watching Discover Tinley, and we'll see you next month.